Hello everyone, it's Thomas Jujube, and welcome to Talking Jujube, the podcast where I talk gibberish, or in this case, Jujube, about a particular subject. Today, we're looking at the latest episodes in all the recent shows. There's not a lot of big news, but there are some new scans I will discuss for build. So, let's get to it. So, today we're going to start with Super Ninja Seal because I feel like it. So, in the beginning, when they pull out the game and they're talking about the Game Goblin, I immediately went, this game is going to become the plot, isn't it? This is going to be the plot of this episode, and it was. But I like that they were using the joke like, teenagers can't resist video games, because that is true. So that was kind of funny. They used the obligatory, oh, we're getting stuck into a video game, so whatever. It wasn't a video game episode, or wasn't a Ninja video game episode. They got the red sword repaint that I don't know what the name of it is, so I thought they were gonna get it here, but they didn't. So I don't know how they're gonna handle that in the future if it was a video game episode. But I'm just going off topic now. The Victor gag was funny for reals, like where they pretend he's not there with like the cardboard wall, and they move it and he's playing the game. Like, I'm not kidding, that caught me off guard and I thought it was kind of funny. They should do that more often, because it was, I wasn't expecting that, so it was cool. Poor Brody though, like, Levi was playing the game, Brody takes it and is like, no more playing, and then Brody gets sucked into the game and Levi does it. I was like, aw, poor Brody, because Brody was the only one not playing the game. It was cool that the players of the game kept powering up the monster. I thought that was a cool idea for like a video game monster. Something that I think they could have done in X-Aid. I was wondering why the beam made the ranger, the controller beam, I think, why it made the other rangers more powerful. But I mean, that's just a small nitpick. I was kind of wondering why the ninja cells, or whatever they're called, the ninja com, they somehow still worked through the game world. Levi contacted Brody and asked for his help, and I was like, whoa, you can still communicate? I mean, okay. I was glad that Preston felt guilty for having everyone sucked in, because it is kind of his fault. He gave everyone the Game Goblin and they're all playing it, so he did feel guilty. But there wasn't like, I don't feel like we like moved on with Preston, or we developed Preston, or, you know, improved him. But it was still okay. Victor and Monty don't do a lot again in this episode, which is cool, but when they do show up, it's just stupid, except for the one part where Victor is hiding, because I actually like that part. They should do more of that. We're not switching completely to Victor and Monty. We had that one funny moment, or supposed to be funny moment, with everyone taking out the video games and playing on them, putting away, taking them out, and then from there we segue into a Victor moment. So I mean, they should do that more often, where we do something with the Rangers and then segue into the other into the comic relief. The Game Goblin curse that they come up with to stop everyone from playing was kind of just stupid. Like, if I was there and I saw someone run in with what looked like a mop for hair and green skin that obviously looked painted on, I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't think yeah, you're not fooling me. And then they actually made it real, like at the end where Cosmo gets to the curse. So I was like, come on. I don't know, that was just weird. They were just doing that for like that one thing at the end. I would have liked to see more power-ups that the Game Goblin used than just the controller beam, because it was actually kind of cool that, as I said, the students were powering up the monster as they kept playing the game. So I would have liked to see him gain more power-ups, like, oh, super speed, super jump. But I think they were like tied to stock footage from Japan, and they went, hey, let's make it a video game. So I mean, that's unique. I was kind of wondering why they switched modes so much to beat the monster. It's probably, again, some stock footage thing, but I was kind of wondering, like, they went from like one mode to the other mode to the other mode to the other mode. I was like, wow, why do we need to switch that much? So I don't know, maybe it's something in Japan. Again, I haven't seen a Ninja, and I actually realized how plain the Sub-Surfer Megazord cockpit is, because like the Astro Megazord has like the Astrozord in the circles. The Dragon one has a big dragon, and the whole thing kind of turns like blue. And the Sub-Surfer Megazord cockpit is just like purple ninja stars, and that's really boring. That's just something weird I noticed. I forgotten that Mick could shapeshift. Like, I completely forgot about that. I think they only did that in the first episode, so that's why. Then, because Levi was like, oh, why didn't you shapeshift? And I was like, oh, I forgot he could shapeshift. And that also brings up the question, why didn't Mick shapeshift? Because he was like, oh, I just wanted you to have fun. So, okay. And then also, then we get to the end, where Cosmo gets the Game Goblin curse, and we focus on the villains in the end, instead of Victor and Monty like we normally do, so that's an improvement. And they mention something like, oh, the Cosmic Ninjas, or something like that. I can't remember what the name was, but they said some kind of ninja is coming. So, what does this mean? I haven't seen the ninja, but I don't remember any, like, evil ninjas coming. Maybe it's just the obligatory, like, mirror villain episode. Or maybe it's, like, a crossover episode, since this is the 25th season of Power Rangers. So, I don't know, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this Cosmic Ninjas, or whatever the thing, whatever they said. Please let me know down below what you heard, because I don't specifically remember what they said. So, overall, this episode was just meh. It wasn't actually too bad. I kind of enjoyed it, if we're going to be real here. Because, I mean, I liked XA, and XA was video game themed, and this was video game themed. So, overall, just okay. Moving on to Build, the intros in Build are still really funny because we bring back Banjo and he's like, oh, I'm back! And they had a weird joke that I didn't really get. Then we move on to Utsumi and Gentaku, where Gentaku explains how he came to Saito. And I actually just came off of watching the YouTube special that someone linked me to. Thank you for that. And, like, Utsumi's, like, crazy in this because he's like, I'll only make you a rider if you get down and beg. I was like, ooh, okay, because he was acting like kind of crazy. So that was like a complete change from the YouTube special, but maybe, I don't know, something happens there. And like, they torture Gentaku. Like, they show scenes where they're like torturing him. Like, I forget specifically what they're doing, but I remember he's like chained up, and like the robots, the Guardians, they're like beating him up. I was like, whoa, okay. And like, Stock obviously wants what's in the Pandora box, because then later we see he shows up to Sento while he's at the grave of the recent Hard Smash deaths, and Stock is there and he wants the bottles back, and then he says like, we need your bottles. Yeah, he says we need your bottles to open the Pandora box, because they said that earlier, so we already knew about this. And then he also, since Sento's hazard level keeps rising, and he says, I need something like, he says, I need your hazard levels to rise. So, I'm still wondering why he wants Sento's hazard levels to be higher, and what's inside Pandora. Well, we know there's a massive energy source in Pandora's box, so we can assume that's why he needs Pandora's box open, or that's why he wants Pandora's box open. But why does he need Sento's hazard level to reach a higher level? Obviously, maybe it's because of 5. He wants him to reach hazard level 5 so that he can so that Build will get his final form, and he'll use his final form to reach some end game. Or once Build reaches some hazard level, he'll be able to steal something from it. I don't know, but we don't know why he wants Build's hazard level to reach higher. It's probably like 5, because he's like 4.3 now. So, I don't know, I'm looking forward to seeing what Stock wants. Oh, and then Build goes into hazard form, and he starts fighting Stock, and then like he's changing, like he's going evil, or unedged. He's going crazier faster now, because normally we get like the scene with like the brain and the nerves like moving around. We normally get that like once or twice before it goes to his brain and signifies he's crazy now. But this time, like, we went straight to like his brain going crazy. So I was like, whoa, he's losing control faster now. And Grease shows up and stops Build from, I think, killing Stock. And he goes, this looks pretty fun, which fits with his character. And then he shows up in the cafe, and he's staying there now with the last Hard Smash. I think Akoba is his name. And then he says, like, oh, you can all call me Kazumin. And he pulls out a Misora, or a Mitan pillow, which is kind of creepy. And then he's, like, arguing with Banjo or Ryuga. So overall, I think I'm just looking forward to seeing him in the cafe and more of his interactions with characters. And then we get a sweet scene with Sento and Misora down below where they're talking about love and peace and why Sento is like even fighting as Build. And then she passes out, and then we begin the mystery, because I mean, you've seen the episode, you know what's gonna happen next. She'll show up later, mind controlled, with the green eyes that we see in the intro, which you can assume she has when she's purifying bottles. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with her. I'll talk about this later too. So also Genchiku is like crazy now because he shows up, he's like gonna shoot his dad. So like, whoa, okay. And then he seals the Pandora's box. And then there's just like, this moment has like all the full bottles, like not all of them, but basically Rogue uses Phoenix and flies away as a fiery phoenix and takes the Kaisers with him. And also, while we're talking about the Kaisers like, after last episode where they had, no, not last episode, yeah, it was last episode, I'm sorry. After last episode where they make a big appearance, like that was their debut, they're like beating up Grease and the hard smashes. And then in this episode they don't really do anything. So I mean, I wasn't expecting them to do much, but it's just something I noticed, like, oh, they kind of went down really fast. So anyway, Rogue uses Phoenix and flies away to the Skywall with the Kaisers. And then we see Bill assume Hawk Gatling, which I just got, and then he flies away to go after them. And then we see Grease use Helicopter like he normally does and take the castle smash. And then Ryuga's like, wait for me. He goes to grab, and then he falls, and that's the best part. And then they get to the Skywall, and then Ryuga like ran the whole way there, because then he's like, guys, I'm here, and he runs through the grass. So Ryuga's just my favorite character, really. Like, he's so much fun. And then we just find out after that Genchiku wants to be in charge. He wants to take over Toto and wants to rule it. He doesn't want revenge, he just wants to control it. So that's kind of interesting. And then we also see how much more powerful Rogue is than the Hazard forms, because he uses Crack Up Finish. He chomps Sento in Hazard form, and he slams him into the Skywall, and he's just standing there, and there's an explosion behind him. So I was like, whoa, someone got Michael Bay on the set. No, I'm just kidding. But that was an awesome image, and that was really cool, and it really shows how powerful he is. And then while everyone's like, the heroes are all de-henshined, I guess is the term for it, and the villains are victorious, then we're like, what's that? And you see Misora walking over, and they make an emphasis on her gold bracelet as well. And then she's like, her eyes are closed, and then she opens them, and her hair's kind of like flowing creepily, and her eyes are green. So that's the cliffhanger we end on, and we're gonna figure out more about that next week. And I'm going to actually go into a little bit of detail about the preview and some scans from magazines. So if you don't want spoilers for upcoming forms and next week's preview, leave right now, because I'm about to talk about it. So 3, 2, 1. Alright, so next week I think we're killing off the last of the hard smash, because we see the chain, the last dog tag with the red outline. We see it drop in the intro, which is kind of implying his death. And then Stock says Misora's bracelet is from Mars in the voiceover. And speaking of Stock, it's actually not Stock, like Bloodstock's voice. It's Soichi's voice. So like he's Soichi, and he hasn't been in his normal civilian form for a couple episodes. So that's kind of interesting. Like, he comes to the cafe to explain it to them, maybe. So anyway, Misora's bracelet is from Mars, is what they say. So I guess like her powers are Martian, so that's cool. And then we also see like Sento loses like more control, because we see for a quick second he's like choking Misora. So in this episode he loses control faster. So in next episode maybe he loses control faster and he loses much more control. Like, he's gonna go flat out like killing people again. So next week's gonna be really tense. And then our magazine scans for the month of March is for Rabbit and Tank Build's upcoming super forms, because he didn't have enough with all the Hazard forms. Oh boy, don't you just love when they spam forms? But no, I love the Hazard forms, and these forms look awesome. I like that they use the Hazard trigger, because it kind of shows they're like building up, puns, they're building up on the hazard trigger or the hazard forms, because it looks like there's armor on top of the hazard form, because you can still see like kind of the weird like antenna, Optimus Prime antenna from the hazard helmet. You can still see that on the Rabbit and Tank helmets, so that's pretty cool. And it's definitely what Max Hazard on this form. They're probably going to be the completed like safer version of the hazard forms, because we know right now hazard forms are dangerous, because Sento always needs someone to like be ready to pull him out of it when he goes into Max Hazard, or no hazard. So I'm positive that Rabbit and Tank are going to be like this completed version of the hazard forms. It's going to be Sento's safer version of the hazard form, so he's going to keep that power or be even more powerful, but he'll be able to control himself now. So Tank is going to become a tank like when he uses the full bottle buster, and that's awesome, because the tank treads on the back are cool, but like there's tank treads all over this suit, so that's really cool. And then Rabbit has like the stretchy limb cliche, which is kind of sad, but it's also weird. But like there's the springs on the rabbit foot are all over this thing, so that's pretty cool. But the rabbit ears on the back are kind of weird. Like the tank treads are cool, the rabbit ears are just kind of weird. But even though I know what I said, Rabbit is still, I like it better than Tank because it's red. But both of these forms look really cool. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. They both look awesome. And then also quickly, we got the trailer for the summer movie. It's not much, just we see Rabbit Dragon. So I hope it'll be like an actual form, and maybe like Kamen Rider doubles style, where Sento and Ryuga are in the same body. So that would be pretty cool actually. I'd like to see that. So overall, this week's episode of Build was awesome, and the new skins are awesome, and I'm looking forward to everything to come. Alright, so now we're moving on to Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger. And come on, I all told you so that they would make it a joke with the Pato Rangers and the Lupin Rangers in the beginning, where he goes to the gun and he holds up 3 and says, "Party of 3." And they're like, oh yes, take a seat right here. We'll get something done for you. See, I all told you. No one said they didn't agree with me, so you probably all thought so too. And then Toma, I didn't say this, but Toma tries to steal the guns, the Blue Ranger. I'm learning everyone's names a little better now. So he steals the gun, or tries to steal the gun, and Red stops him. And then the butler's just a ninja in this episode too. Like, he appears like out of nowhere and disappears. So the butler's a ninja. Kogure is his name. Kogure is a ninja. Don't question me. And then we like, as I said last week, it was kind of cool that the Lupin Rangers have been showing up and morphing, and then the Pato Rangers will show up and morph, so the Lupin Rangers know who the Pato Rangers are, but the Pato Rangers don't know who the Lupin Rangers are. But this time the Pato Rangers showed up first, and then the Lupin Rangers showed up already morphed, so that's kind of cool. They're keeping that. And then Goody keeps running into people. First of all, that fight scene was pretty cool. We see that Green, I don't remember his name. I was trying to remember his name, but I can't. So Green gets stuck with the pink goo, which is also just the monster's ability. It like seems like a big part of the monster, and it's just the monster. It has nothing to do with the Lupin collection he has. The Lupin collection allows him to do the sculpting. The pink goo is just his own thing. So it's kind of cool we have like these dual abilities from the monsters. So anyway, that was a cool fight scene. We got more Ranger versus monster action. And then Goody like runs into Red while they're like talking. Blue is like, I'm going to go after I think he said I was going to go after the Pato Rangers, because he wants to steal their part of the collection, because they need all of the collection to bring back their loved one. And we expand on Blue's backstory, because we see that it was his fiance that was killed when the ice monster froze people. And what's also really sad is that, like, literally right before that happens, she says, or Toma says, "Oh, it's not like it's life or death," and then she like screams, and he goes there and she dies. So that's dark. So wow. And as I said, we expand on Blue's backstory, which I was thinking we'd do. We touched on the backstory of all the Lupin Rangers last week, and then we're probably going to expand on all of it. So that's what we did with Blue this week. I'm looking forward to seeing that with Yellow and hopefully Red, even though they kind of already fleshed out that backstory. And I also now know that Yellow's, I guess, friend, the person who died, was like her best friend or something. I didn't really notice that, like, everyone noticed that it was the fiance and a friend, but I kind of just thought it was like, I didn't really read into that, so oopsie me. And then we get a moment with the Gangler and the boss. I haven't mentioned this before, but I like how the boss, I think Keiichiro, the boss is always holding a glass. So that's really cool. You don't normally see like a monster holding an actual like object that we normally hold. So that's really cool. These just giant suits with like grotesque features holding just a cup of wine. That's really cool. And then they're also commenting on this statue. And then it's cool to see that the Lupin Rangers are manipulating the Pato Rangers. So like they call up the Pato Rangers, or they don't call them up, but Red will like pretend he's someone else and says, "Oh, there's a monster here," and then they go there and it's a trap, so now the Lupin Rangers can take on the monster. That's really cool. It's kind of cool to see. They're more tactical than the Pato Rangers. And then also Red says like, "Oh, well, we can have a use for them, see?" Which is what Toma's girlfriend, or no, fiance, it's what she said. So and then he thinks of his fiance, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, alright, you're right." And then we get more cool fight scenes. We get to see, we expand on Green a little. We see that he's guilty for how he got caught in the pink goo in the beginning of the episode. So it was cool to see, like, we expand on that, and the Hilltop tells him to try your best and you'll succeed. And he tried his best and they succeeded. So that's cool. Yellow, okay, so when the Lupin Rangers get the Good Striker, then they use it, and Yellow remembers when the Pato Rangers fuse into Pato and Yugo, and she says, "No, I don't want to fuse with you guys," and she's like about to leave, and Red's like, no, we need to fuse to beat the monster, because they think they're going to fuse with Good Striker. They haven't used Good Striker before, so they use Good Striker, and then they reenacted the transformation sequence from the Pato Rangers, where they kind of like move up and join into each other, but this time like the Lupin Rangers go past Red, so like they go up and they go through him, but they don't like stop. And then we even have like the zoom ins on like his thighs and his face, like with Pato and Yugo, because they're showing off Pato and Yugo, but we don't have Lupin Yugo, or whatever they'd call it. So, but they still did that zoom in, so that was really funny. And then he splits, and they're all like just standing there like, what happened? They're like, we didn't fuse, and they see there's 3 Red Rangers, and I just get flashbacks to when Lucky duplicated himself when he was still annoying. And then all 3 Reds like look at each other and they're like talking to each other, and then they just like blow away the monster. Like they absolutely murder this monster. There's like just someone let Michael Bay on the set for these last 2 Tokusatsu episodes, because they just blow away the monster. So that was really cool. And then I didn't mention this last week when they grew the monster, but I like that the safe like stays. The monster dies, but the safe stays, and then the evil lady, I don't know her name, the evil lady who grows the monsters, she grows the safe, which then reforms the monster around it. So I didn't mention that last week, and I think it's really cool. It's a cool idea. We see quickly Goody doesn't like Kogure. They say, like, I forget what the Lupin Rangers said. They say something about Kogure, and the Good Striker says, "Kogure, what? No!" And then he flies away and runs into Pato and Ichigo. So he's just running into everyone now. So good on you, Goody. And then they form Pato Kaiser, and the transformation was not as cool as Lupin Kaiser, but I still think it was pretty cool. And we get a Western shootout between Pato Kaiser and the monster, so that was pretty cool as well. It was different from the Lupin Rangers, but I still prefer the Lupin Rangers fight scene because that was just really, really cool. But this wasn't bad as well. And then the villains too, when they destroy the big statue of Keiichiro, the big boss, and then they're all watching and they're like, what? So I think if the monster even defeated the Pato Rangers, I don't think he would have been made the boss either, so he didn't have a chance. And then we finally have the Pato Rangers come into the cafe and they're having their meal just to end off the episode, and we get a weird, no, it wasn't a weird scene, it was just kind of out of nowhere scene where Green's like, oh, you're cute, to Yellow. It was, whoa, okay, that came out of nowhere. So overall, it was actually a pretty balanced episode because the first episode focused a lot on the Lupin Rangers, you can't deny that. Last episode, we got the backstory of the Lupin Rangers, so you also can't deny it was mostly a Lupin Ranger episode. And this week, we got a really good balance because we focused on blue and we focused on green. So I hope maybe they do something like this for the rest of the series, or at least for a good part until we join forces. Because I think it was cool that we're kind of focusing on two characters of both teams, and I felt like we did a good job balancing both. And then also something weird I want to talk about relating to this episode and last episode is last episode we got the debut of Pattern Yugo, which is Good Striker used in the Pato Morpher. And then we got the debut of Lupin Kaiser, which is the Lupin Rangers Megazord with Good Striker. And in this episode, we get the Lupin Rangers using Good Striker in their Morpher, and then we get Pato Kaiser. So, I mean, that was just kind of weird. It's not like one. I guess that, now that I think of it, that works because we have it balances it out. We're not like too leaning heavily on a certain team, but I do hope we lean heavily on a certain team at some point again, because especially the Pato Rangers, because we don't know much about them. I kind of want to lean more towards them, like just have a full Pato Ranger episode with minor Lupin Rangers, so that we can learn more about these characters, because we don't know much now. Red is just kind of the very determined, kind of crazy leader. Green is the comic relief, and Pink is the girl. But next week, or spoilers, I'm going to talk about next week again. Next week looks to actually be Pato Ranger focused, which I forgot about. So it looks to be focusing on Pink, which is I think the character we know least about, or that is least kind of like with a personality. She's just kind of there to stop Red from going crazy. So, I mean, that is a pretty important character trait, if you ask me. And then also, we see Pato Kaiser fighting the monster, but then we also see Lupin Kaiser briefly. So, we're going to have both mechs appear in the same episode, which is going to be cool. And also, the sad thing is, since Good Striker needs to be present for both Megazords, and there's only one Good Striker, we can't get what I wanted, that I talked about in the trailer. We won't be able to get a mech on mech fight. Like, I know we got the verse machines, yeah, the verse machines, whatever they're called, verse fighters, dial fighters, and trigger machines, but I know they have a shared name. But we got that scene last week, which was awesome, and I hope we get it again, because again, that was awesome. But I was really hoping we get a Megazord versus Megazord, and with Good Striker being the only Good Striker, I don't think we're going to. So that makes me sad. I just hope we get a duplicate Good Striker, or like it duplicates itself just for one scene, please. I just want one scene where we have Megazord versus Megazord, because that almost never happens in Power Rangers and Super Sentai. And when it does, it's CG, like in, I think, Kruger's movie. So I'm being really rambly now. So overall, this was actually a really, really well balanced episode of Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger, and I think it was really good. So those were my thoughts on this week's episodes. I hope that you enjoyed them and this episode. Please let me know what you thought of each of these episodes down in the comment section. And also, while we're here, I want to mention that I did see Black Panther, but I won't be making a video on it because those Marvel videos never do any good. I don't have the audience for that. So no Black Panther video. People have been asking me, so that's why I'm addressing it. So overall, I enjoyed all these episodes, and I'm looking forward to what's coming next. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos like this, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.